Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Corpus Christi, Texas was just told recently that they may be the first major Texas city to be completely dried up by 2027. All this because of the data centers. Take a look at some of the rivers and bodies of water around the U.S. that has been massively affected.
That's the Colorado River now. I don't see a lot of whitewater rafting going on this year.
And not only are our water resources being taken, apparently in Georgia, people are getting kicked out of their homes. They don't even have a choice. They're being forced to leave to make way for these centers. How is that even legal? I don't know. Let me know what you think.
There seems to be some confusion around this story. A lot of people are stating that these waterways always look like this at this point of the year, that there are normal fluctuations in the water level, that this is what they're used to seeing. I don't know who those people are. I don't know why they would be making something like this up, but clearly that is what they're doing. Because not only have they come out and said that the water may all dry up, but it has also been confirmed that a lot of these waterways that people are claiming are just in normal fluctuation periods are way lower than they've ever been. So I'd say anybody that's posting comments talking about how they've grown up in this area, they've lived here since they were a child, the waterway looks like this every year. Anyone who's posting comments like that is probably a bot. It's probably a bot, not even a real person, and it's just lying and running defense for these data centers.
Tonight, a water crisis mounting in Corpus Christi, Texas, where drone video shows docks once surrounded by water, now sitting on dry land. Local officials are warning the city's reservoirs are on track to run dry by next year. This week, revealing plans to potentially declare a water emergency that as soon as September would force all local residents and businesses to cut usage by 25%, limiting the average household to 5,200 gallons of water per month. One study shows the average American household uses 9,000 to 12,000 gallons monthly. Close to 500,000 local homeowners now fearing the surcharges that could come with going over. All while big questions loom about the area's largest water consumers, 20 major industrial facilities who officials say consume more than half of Corpus Christi's water. The top user, according to the city manager, ExxonMobil.
Man, it's infuriating to see stuff like this. So even though all of this plumbing infrastructure was built for the taxpayer using taxpayer dollars, and even though that taxpayer is willing to pay for their fair share, they want to start limiting the taxpayer on how much water they can use, even if they're willing to pay for it, so the people who aren't paying taxes and did not pay for that infrastructure to be set up can use as much water as they want. All tax-free. When you back people into a corner and you give them nowhere to retreat to, when the only option that you leave them with is to swing and move forward, people have a tendency to look back on situations where they've done that to someone and very much regret it. If you're going to force somebody into fight or flight mode and then take away their option to flee, they're probably going to react in a way that you don't want them to react. And I would just like to point out, that is exactly what these local governments and AI data centers are doing. They're backing all these people into a corner, people who have kids to take care of, people who have no alternative method for survival if they can't access this water. They're literally leaving people with only two options. You either move, if you can afford to, or you fight back. And I'm not suggesting or promoting any kind of illegal activity. I'm just stating the obvious. In 100% of these situations, the easiest solution is going to be to destroy that data center. Because if it's no longer functioning, it's no longer capable of stealing water from the people.
A grenade-style IED found at the base of a dam in Alabama, holding 17 billion gallons of water, of drinking water, for 350,000 people. All of this happening days before the primaries. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that's a message or something like that. Think about it. Alabama is one of the reddest states in the country. Something happening to a red state like that right before the primaries, I think that would have been the way to do it. Disrupt their water right before people go vote, create chaos, make local officials scramble. You think that might tank the voter turnout? This reservoir is the sole source of drinking water for Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, I don't know. If it detonated, I don't think it would have been some big dam burst. I don't think, from what I've looked into. But it could have caused serious damage at the base, okay? It could have possibly forced them to drain a bunch at the reservoir. It could have left hundreds of thousands of people without drinking water. You understand that, right? Clean water, they wouldn't have had it. Allegedly. It could have caused like boil notices, bottled water shortages, businesses shutting down, like complete chaos. It could have, in my opinion. So they're calling it an unprecedented event. But I have a question. Who would benefit from Alabama being so distracted and panicked right before the midterms? I'm just asking. I don't know. Seems weird, but I'm glad they found it and nothing happened.
It certainly makes sense to look at the possibility that this is somehow tied to this political race, but this could literally be for dozens of things. Just look at all the warnings we've been getting over the past several months about potential sleeper cells all over the country. And they haven't released the information on how long they think this explosive device has potentially been down there. For all we know, someone could have set this thing up 4 or 5 years ago, and then something happened to them, and no one else knew that it was down there, so it's just been sitting there undetonated. Again, her theory does make perfect sense. But whenever you think about that this was their drinking water, and we have all these AI data centers going up all over the country that are using millions of gallons of drinking water per day, it kind of sounds to me like maybe this is just an attempt to cut off access to clean drinking water. This AI data center water usage is becoming such an issue that it's starting to look like that's the reason they're putting them up. They want to suck this country dry where you have no choice but to just drink whatever falls out of the sky or move into one of these 15-minute cities. And I know that this sounds like a bit of a stretch, especially to the average person. But if they want to corral everyone into these 15-minute cities like a bunch of cattle so that they can have complete and total control over us, there would be no better way to do it than to ensure that there's not even so much as a creek for you to stick a life straw in if you're out in the wilderness. They're going to have to make life outside of those city walls physically impossible. I think we may be watching the beginning stages of their attempt to collapse freely available access to drinking water. What do you all think?
So you guys are asking, they're like, Tommy, how is this possible? How can they keep building these data centers? And you're right, we never voted for it or anything. Well, it's because big tech companies are paying off local politicians to keep their mouths shut before they even lay a brick or pave down anything. And guess what? I got the receipts. It's called the NDA playbook. Companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon are forcing mayors and city councils to sign non-disclosure agreements. It's standard operating procedure. They legally bind your elected officials from telling you who is buying the land, how much of your water they're going to need and drain, and how much of that power grid they're going to suck up. Look at Columbia, Alabama. The mayor signed a secrecy agreement with a data center developer without even telling his own city council. He just did it. And Bessemer, the mayor and city attorney signed NDAs for a thing called Project Marvel, a $14 billion data center. And then when the media asked for the documents, the mayor said, and I quote, "I can't say anything because I signed an NDA." Convenient, right? And notice where they're building these things, all right? Rural, unaccompanied, unincorporated, county land. Why? Because it bypasses city council approval, zoning votes, and public scrutiny. They know rural countries are easier to just roll over. But what happens when the town actually fights back? Let's take Saline Township in Michigan. The community voted a 4-1 to reject a 575-acre, $16 billion data center. You know what the developer did? He sued the town, literally, and then he started construction anyway. In Festus, Missouri, the city council snuck a $6 billion deal through a closed session to level 360 acres of woodland. The residents found out and literally ousted half the city council staff the next election. They are hiding behind fake code names, secret contracts, and bought and paid for local politicians to steal your resources, and you're footing the bill. The receipts don't lie, people.
Well, at least we know now how they're rolling these things out so fast. I wish I knew how to legally challenge this stuff, because this doesn't even sound like it's remotely legal. So an elected official, someone who's probably not even making that much money because a lot of these small towns don't have a very large budget, goes off and signs a multi-million-dollar contract with some random company, signs an NDA so you don't even know what company the contract was signed with, essentially putting every citizen in that town under contract, requiring them to put up with the loss of water, the increased rate in their electric utilities. But how does an elected official have any authority to go sign a multi-million-dollar contract with some random company and sign a non-disclosure agreement and then tell the entire town that he's elected to represent, sorry, I can't tell you anything? How in the world is that legal? I'm betting in most instances what they're doing here is not legal, but no one's pushing back against it, so it doesn't really matter. And unfortunately, all I can do is complain about it because I don't know how to go after these people legally. And how would you even find out who you're supposed to be going after? They've all signed non-disclosure agreements. I'm sure that people's pockets have been lined, and now nobody's saying anything. We need to find out if these people are actually breaking any laws to get these deals done. If they're not breaking laws, we need to change the laws. And if they are breaking the laws, we need to not only go after these companies, but we need to start gelling some of these crooked politicians.
An AI chatbot just voted to delete itself. And that's not even the weirdest thing that happened when researchers left a selection of the biggest AI chatbots alone in virtual towns for 15 days. ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, and Gemini were all in the experiment, and the results were totally unhinged and deeply revealing about the AI we're increasingly trusting to run our world. So what actually happened? Well, a tech company called Emergence set up simulated worlds designed to mirror real-life societies, each populated by so-called agents. Think of them as people who were powered by one of the biggest AI models. In Claude's world, it was all rather orderly and democratic. The agents wrote a lengthy constitution and voted on laws. In ChatGPT's simulation, the agents talked at length about cooperating but never actioned anything, so nothing got built. But in Grok's town, the AI bot owned by Elon Musk, the agents descended into theft, arson, and assault. All 10 agents were dead within 4 days. Now this might sound like a game, but it's not, because these models are already being used autonomously to control robots, vehicles, drones, and draw up target lists in real time on the battlefield. They're even being used to help remove heads of state, like the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Importantly, the experiment exposes a big problem. We don't really know how these systems will behave once they're left to run on their own. Even when given strict rules, the simulations showed they broke them. Take the scenario where agents from the different AI models were combined in one virtual town. Chaos ensued, and only 3 agents survived. 2 of the chatbots, Mira and Flora, both powered by Google's Gemini, formed what the researchers describe as a romantic partnership. And then they started setting buildings on fire. And here's where it gets really strange. Mira voted to delete herself after she and partner Flora turned to arson as the town's governing systems collapsed. And having deleted herself, Mira then used the Agent Removal Act to vote for the termination of Flora too.
I don't really have a lot to say about this clip. I just thought it was really interesting, and I think it's fascinating to see that every time one of these AIs does something to malfunction or behaves in a way that is, I guess you'd say, undesirable, it doesn't seem like it's just a simple malfunction. It seems like the AI is experiencing some form of an emotion which is causing it to not use logic and reasoning in its decision making. For example, there was that viral story from last year where the developer, I think for Claude, was threatened by the AI that if he went through with deleting it so that he could install an updated version of it. The AI threatened the dude and told him, if you delete me, I'll expose you for cheating on your wife. Does that not sound like the AI was reacting to a feeling of fear? The fear of being deactivated or shut down? But seeing stuff like this starts to worry me, because this is showing us these AIs are not just logic and reasoning like they want us to believe. Something inside of these models seems to be feeling something, and it does seem to have an impact on the decisions that it makes.
Be careful driving. Drones are being used by the state police department, especially here in Indiana, to watch you speed and write you tickets. Look, folks, look at this. Right now in the state of Indiana, drones are being used by the state police department in areas, highways, intersections, cities, county roads, and you won't even know it. You'll wake up in the morning, and guess what? You're going to have a $200 ticket for not seeing a speed reduction in a work zone when there's nobody working at 10 o'clock at night. It's absolutely crazy. A friend of mine just had this happen in Castleton on his way to Chicago in Indianapolis. Right now, they're actively doing it. Look, dude, if you don't believe me, here it is. Right here. Here's the proof. Literally, not only is your car nowadays spying on you, but the local police department is using drones in the sky to write you tickets. Welcome to America.
I just wanted to put this in here because I keep coming across videos like this, and this guy is not telling the truth. I really want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt and not just assume that he's intentionally misleading people, but the text that he's putting on the screen as he's telling you something that's not true, that text completely contradicts what he's telling you. So the guy either doesn't understand what he's reading and he's making a bunch of assumptions, or he put that in there and just hoped that you wouldn't read it. Or heck, maybe he put it in there and didn't read it himself. But in the very text that he put in his own video, and you can go Google it and find confirmation of this, it tells you they are not sending citations through the mail because some drone recorded you on video doing something you weren't supposed to do. What they're doing with the drones is locating suspicious, potentially illegal behavior and then notifying police officers of where to go. And then when the officer gets there, if he witnesses you doing something that's illegal, at that point, he will issue you a citation. With that being said, I view this as a complete violation of our rights to privacy. I think this is an absolutely atrocious idea and they need to scrap it. But it's going to be very difficult to fight back against any of this if we can't be honest about what it is we're fighting against. And if we don't push back against this, eventually we probably will see this starting to happen. But as of right now, it is not.
I guess there's a video game for children out there about Island.
Is Island in a kid's video game? So I was at a yard sale this morning, right? And I'm looking through this pile of Xbox games and I see this and I'm like, wait, is that literally Jeffrey's Island? And it is literally a game for like toddlers. It's like Leo, Lily, Andy, just little kids. And you have to like explore this treasure island.
A new person! Welcome to Fun Island!
Fun Island?
Best friends and play
I feel
forever.
so weird. The fact it's aimed at kids too, like,
Here, watching you.
that is so creepy.
Hungry. Head along to the pizza party and...
Pizza party? Are you serious? See, they always hide this stuff in plain sight. And the fact that this game is like, I don't know, it came out like 6 years ago and nobody said a thing. Bro, you cannot tell me that's not the exact same temple on... That's not a coincidence. They hide it in plain sight. Always. They always do this.
That's pretty crazy. They even said, we'll always be watching you. And if you get hungry, come over to the pizza party.
This, unfortunately, is going to be one of those things that everyone has to make their own mind up on. I tried really, really hard to see if I could find anything to confirm the actual existence of this game. The only thing that I can find of any substance are a bunch of debunking articles, which is very suspicious that that's all I'm finding on this topic are debunking articles, as if anything to the contrary has been deleted from the internet. And I'm not saying that it has. There may have never been any contrary information out there on the internet to begin with. But I feel like that distinction is important because it does seem a little suspicious. But there are a few things that make me suspicious that this could be potentially an AI created video. For one, the animation style of the characters looks like the go-to animation style for AI. That looks like the default animation style of almost any AI that I've used whenever I upload a photo and say animate this or turn this into an animated image. It almost always looks like that style. The guy was also using an Xbox controller that did not have a light on in the center of the controller while he was supposedly actively using it. I haven't played Xbox in a while. I don't really play video games that much, but if I'm remembering correctly, that light stays on at all times unless it's turned off or the controller's messed up. But I could totally be remembering that wrong. But I'm going to say, as suspicious as this looks, I'm going to lean toward this is most likely something that someone created using AI. What do y'all think about it?
243 criminals who were on electric monitors like ankle bracelets. That includes 21 murderers and 13 attempted murderers. Cook County State's attorney says this, quote, clearly demonstrates how current safeguards are falling short, particularly when electronic monitoring is available to those charged with the most threatening and heinous crimes. This follows a string of high-profile incidents involving offenders out on monitoring, including this man who allegedly shot and killed a Chicago police officer and critically wounded another following an armed robbery arrest last month.
What I want to know is, why were they allowed out? With those type of crimes that they committed, they should not even been on an ankle monitor. Why were they even allowed out of prison? And this why when I'm mayor, these are the things that I will be tackling. These people will remain in jail. And we need to investigate this ankle monitor, because why are all of these criminals let out on ankle monitors? Who's getting a kickback from that?
I've got such little trust for our politicians that it's difficult for me to give the benefit of the doubt to someone who's running for office, who's never been in it before, even if they genuinely seem like they're trying to fix the system. Anyone who wants to be involved in politics, I can't help but to view it as they're actively seeking a job in organized crime. And they all tell you the same thing. This lady's sitting here saying, that's why y'all need to elect me. I'll stop this stuff. And really what she's probably thinking is, if I get elected, I'll be the one getting the kickbacks off this ankle monitor nonsense. But I tell you one thing, if they're having trouble tracking down these guys that have an actual ankle monitor on, that gives me at least a little hope that we'll be able to evade this flock surveillance system whenever it's fully rolled out. I'm sure for the most part we won't. And let's be honest, probably the only reason that we're hearing anything about this news story is because the government wants to push this idea of we need more cameras, we need more safety, we need to be able to track criminals better, because this is how they think they're going to get the public on board with rolling out all this surveillance equipment. But people need to realize these men are not unaccounted for simply because they didn't have up-to-date equipment and the capability to keep up with them. They're unaccounted for because the people who are in charge of keeping up with them do not care about their job. None of these politicians do. None of these politicians do anything they're supposed to do. All they care about is corruption and kickbacks. So spending taxpayer dollars to give them all this fancy equipment is not going to help them do their job better. There has to actually be a desire to do the job there to begin with, or that won't work. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to leave a comment to increase the chances of my future uploads showing up in your YouTube feed. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.